Welcome to Liberty, Leadership, and Lies, the podcast where we unravel the complex web of politics, power, and deception. Each week, we dive into the stories behind the headlines, exploring how liberty is eroded and the selfishness of our political leaders, as well as the lies that shape our world. Join us as we dissect the truth from fiction by examining the tactics used by the new aristocracy, the political class, at the local, state, and national levels of government as we dare to challenge the status quo. Get ready for thought-provoking discussions, exclusive interviews, and a journey into the heart of what really drives our society. Liberty, Leadership, and Lies, where your understanding of the world begins to change. Tune in every Monday morning and prepare to see beyond the veil.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to this week's episode and the season 6 premiere of the Liberty, Leadership, and Lies podcast. That's right, folks, season 6. Can you believe it? We've come a long way since that first episode back in the day, diving deep into the principles that make this country great: liberty, true leadership, and calling out the lies that threaten both. I want to start by saying a huge thank you to all of you who have been with us through those ups and downs. Your support, your emails, your shares, they mean the world to me and keep this show going. We've tackled some tough topics over the years, from government overreach to the erosion of personal freedoms, and we've had some incredible guests who aren't afraid to speak truth to power. Season 6 is going to build on that foundation with more hard-hitting conversations, more insights into what really is happening in our state and in our nation, and more ways to empower you to stand up for what's right. But before we dive into today's episode, I need to share a personal update with you all. As many of you know, I've been dealing with some health challenges lately. Nothing I can't handle with God's grace and a good team of doctors, but after this show, I'm going to be taking a few more weeks off to focus on treatment, recovery, and getting back to 100%. Don't worry, the podcast is not going anywhere. You're always welcome to go back and listen to some of the hard-hitting interviews, as well as the insightful episodes that have been put out for the past 5 seasons. And I'll be back stronger than ever before you know it. I appreciate your prayers and understanding during this time. It really means a lot to me. All right, let's get to why we're here today. This episode is special not just because it's our season opener, but because of the timing and our guests. Tomorrow, January 13th, the Tennessee General Assembly convenes for its next session in Nashville. That's when our lawmakers get back to work, or at least that's the hope, tackling the issues that affect every Tennessean, from education to taxes, public safety to protecting our constitutional rights. In a world where conservative values are under constant attack from the left, from big government bureaucrats, and even from within our own ranks, sometimes it's crucial to hear from leaders who are fighting the good fight. That's why I'm honored to have Tennessee State Representative Todd Warner joining me today. Representative Warner is a true champion of conservative values, and his appearance on the show today, or the day before the General Assembly kicks off, couldn't be more timely. Let me tell you a little bit about him. Todd Warner hails from Chapel Hill, Tennessee. He's a devoted family man. As a small business owner himself, Todd understands the backbone of our economy, which are the entrepreneurs and hardworking folks who create jobs and build communities without needing a handout from the government. He entered politics with that real-world experience, and since 2021, he's been serving as the Republican representative for District 92 in the Tennessee House of Representatives. That district represents some rural areas where folks value faith, family, and freedom above all. In the legislature, Representative Warner has been a steadfast advocate for small businesses, pushing back against overregulation and voting to cut unnecessary red tape that strangles innovation. He's fought for lower taxes, stronger Second Amendment protections, and policies that put Tennessee families first. Whether it's defending life or ensuring our elections are secure and transparent, Todd embodies the conservative principles that made Tennessee one of the freest states in the union. He's not one to shy away from tough votes or calling out the lies peddled by progressive activists and their media allies. In fact, his record shows a commitment to liberty, real liberty, not the distorted version we see from Washington, D.C., and leadership that prioritizes the people over special interests. One shining example of Representative Warner's courage and commitment to true conservative values is his bold stand against the establishment Republicans and Governor Bill Lee's so-called education voucher program, which many of us see as nothing more than a voucher scam designed to siphon taxpayer dollars away from our public schools and into the pockets of special interests. Back in 2024 and into 2025, when Governor Lee pushed his $400 million universal voucher plan, it's branded as education freedom scholarships, Todd was one of the few Republicans who refused to go along with the party line. He publicly declared that this legislation was not conservative, arguing that it would harm rural public schools in districts like his own, where private options are scarce, and the plan would essentially defund the very institutions that serve Tennessee's hardworking families. Critics, including Warner, pointed out that the program was rushed through with little public input, tied to unrelated funds like Hurricane Helene relief to bribe hesitant lawmakers, and backed by dark money groups that attacked opponents like him. They're still attacking him. Even after the bill passed in 2025, despite widespread opposition from teachers, local school boards, and rural communities, Todd didn't back down. He accused GOP leadership of silencing dissent, including removing him from key committees that he's served on for years. And let's not forget the lawsuits that have now followed, claiming the program violates our state's constitution by diverting funds from public education without proper accountability. Research even has showed that similar voucher programs elsewhere have led to worse student outcomes, comparable to the educational disruptions caused by major disasters. By standing firm against this scam, pushed by oligarchs and out-of-state interests rather than Tennessee parents, Warner proved he's a leader who puts principles over politics, protecting liberty from big government overreach, even when it comes from within his own party. Having him on the show today is perfect because, as the General Assembly gears up, we need to discuss how conservatives can hold the line against the creeping socialism that's infected so many parts of our country and our state. Tennessee has been a beacon of hope, attracting folks from blue states who are fleeing high taxes and crime, but we cannot take that for granted. There are forces at work trying to turn Tennessee into another California or New York, and leaders like Todd are on the front lines preventing that. In our conversation, we'll dive into many topics, including his priorities for the upcoming session, the challenges facing conservatives in Tennessee, and how everyday citizens can get involved to protect our liberties. We'll talk about leadership, what it really means in a time when so many politicians are more interested in sound bites than solutions. And of course, we'll expose some of the lies being told about key issues like border security, inflation, and the role of government in our lives. But before we bring Representative Warner on, let me take a moment to reflect on what this podcast is all about. Liberty isn't just a word. It's the God-given right to live free from tyranny, to pursue happiness without the heavy hand of the state telling you how to raise your kids, run your business, or worship. Leadership? That's about servants, not rulers. People like our founding fathers who put principle over power. And lies? Well, we've seen plenty of them, from the COVID mandates that destroyed livelihoods to the election integrity questions that still linger. This show exists to cut through the noise and to equip you with the truth so that you can lead in your own communities. Season 6 is going to be our best yet, I believe. Now, without further ado, let's welcome Tennessee State Representative Todd Warner to the show. So grab your coffee, turn up the volume, and let's get into it. Liberty, leadership, and lies, because the truth will set us free.
Hey there, truth seekers. I'm Larry Litton, your guide through the maze of modern politics and power dynamics on liberty, leadership, and lies. Each episode will challenge the narratives, expose the lies, and celebrate the leaders who champion true liberty. Get ready to question, learn, and maybe even change your mind. So let's dive into the truth together.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's program, the season 6 premiere. I can't believe it's been 6 years that I've been doing this. And today we're going to kick off the show with somebody very, very special, somebody that represents true grassroots conservatism here in the great state of Tennessee and one of the fighters for liberty in our General Assembly. And it's Representative Todd Warner. Representative Warner, welcome to the show. And why don't you tell the people about yourself and your district that you represent?
Yes. Well, good morning, Larry. It's an honor to be on here. It's an honor to represent the 92nd District here in Tennessee. I represent Marshall County and Southern Williamson County. I have the Williamson County part of Spring Hill, and the district is split about 35,000. In the House, we all represent about 70,000 people. So that kind of makes up my district. Marshall County is a little bit more rural than what the city of Spring Hill, one of the fastest growing towns in the state, if not the fastest, and a lot of growth going on here. But myself, I'm try to be as conservative to the core as I can. I represent my district, not leadership in Nashville, not the governor, and especially not the special interests, Larry.
Absolutely.
I've tried to stay true to that word.
Yeah, like that one wonderful group that President Trump rightly called Americans for No Prosperity, right?
Absolutely. And Ben, you mentioned them, here at Christmas time, we're not really, I guess we're getting ready to get into primary season, but, they've already mailed out 2 attacks on me. And, I'm not a big fan of theirs. I knew they wasn't my type people 2 years ago when they rode a dead horse in here named Nikki Haley and supported her in our primary against our great President Trump. And I knew at that time that, what's wrong? There was no doubt that Tennessee was going to stand strong for Trump, and they did. And he's been a great president.
Absolutely. So yourself as a champion against the most recently egregious program passed, the Governor Lee's voucher scam, what steps are you going to take in the upcoming session that convenes actually tomorrow to protect rural public schools in the district you represent from further defunding or harm caused by these the misnamed education freedom scholarships?
Right. Well, we're not sure exactly what's going to happen. Of course, they're definitely going to leave me out of the loop. But I'm hearing 2 different things. I'm hearing Speaker Sexton would like to double the program. Then I'm hearing from some other representatives that the program, the initial bill that was passed, that it allowed the program to grow 5% a year without us taking any action in the General Assembly. So it's going to be interesting to see what route they take, whether the governor tries to double it on his way out, or if we just allow the 5%. If it goes the 5% route, we won't do nothing, won't get a vote. But I'll stand strong against it, Larry. Let me be clear. I am 100% for parents' choice. Parents' right. You send your child where you think, you want to send them to school. I'm good with open enrollment across county lines. If counties work that out, I have no problem with that. What I don't think is right is that for us, or I think it's going to hurt us in the long run as a state, to be sending our money to schools that don't share the values, Larry, that's made this state the great state it is. And as well as I do, the first go around, I questioned our commissioner in committee when they took it off or it never got to the House floor for a vote about Muslim schools getting this money, about the LGBT schools getting this money, about illegals getting this money, about there's a satanic school out in East Tennessee, I think, up and around Bristol that could get to qualify for this money at some point in time. And I got no answers. I got to run around. And, but this past session, we went in, the governor, kind of cooked it on us. We went into a special session, which allowed for all new committees, and we go into what they call a flow motion, which is things speed up, and the public really don't get the transparency that they should when we're in flow motion. And, they got it done, but it was a close vote. I think it was, they only got it passed by 4 votes. Now, if they do bring it back to a vote, Larry, let me tell you what's going to be interesting. These conservatives, or so-called conservatives in these rural areas in Tennessee that don't have private schools in their district, in election year, it's going to be key. It's going to be interesting to see how many of them vote for it in election year.
And the key to watching that, I think, is how much out-of-state spending is going to be used to
absolutely
coerce them or convert them.
Yeah, well, just like I mentioned to you earlier, the attacks have already started. So yeah, there's threats being made behind the scenes. They've threatened me. I know they're going to come after me. AFP is, but bring your best and let's go at it. I'm gonna stand with the people.
Absolutely.
So,
So on this issue of illegal immigration, what legislation do you anticipate introducing or supporting to strengthen our enforcement against these sanctuary policies or any kind of a growth in these NGOs that are supporting this thing all across the
right.
state and the country?
Anything that I can do to support any legislation that comes across that tightens our borders around Tennessee or helps get rid of illegal immigration here in the state, I'm gonna do it. I had a bill this last session that didn't it got voted down. I had the members that got up and walked out of committee, but basically what it would have done, it was a Tennessee Illegal Immigration Act, and what it would have done, any illegal apprehended by law enforcement would have been able to detain that individual for 48 hours, send out a notice to ICE that we have an illegal immigrant. And after 48 hours, if ICE didn't pick up that illegal, because that's all we're allowed to hold them here in the state is 48 hours. Mm-hmm. After that, we have to turn them loose if they hadn't convicted a serious crime. But what my bill would have done is, hey, we got them. If ICE don't pick them up, we're going to transport them to the nearest sanctuary city. Then, in return, what we would have done is we collect the federal government's portion of the federal gas tax. What my bill would have done is we would have withheld the cost of that transportation to the sanctuary city from the federal gas tax. Couldn't get it out of committee. It's a great bill. Of course, I got a little pushback. Well, we can't do that. We can't hold money from the federal government. Well, we the people make up we the states that make up we the federal government, not vice versa.
Absolutely.
So, but that was a bill I thought was a great bill. Some people ask, well, why don't you just send them on out of the country? Well, the physical note was going to be, I got a little pushback on that, but I thought that, send them to the sanctuary city, and it was up to, I think, 700 miles, and that would have got them to Atlanta, to Chicago, and maybe another town up north,
Mm-hmm.
But would have got them out of the state. But that's a bill I had this past session, and may look at it again and just see what we can do.
Yeah, I mean, Governor DeSantis made that kind of work very good for his state.
It has. They've done a fantastic job. And the Trump administration, when I drafted that bill, it was before Trump got elected, mm-hmm. And then, of course, the polls were lying and misleading the American people like they always do. They were thinking about Kamala Harris was maybe ahead by 4, 5, 6 points, whatever it was. But I think President Trump's done a good job. Mm-hmm. I think he's kept his word, and we're definitely seeing improvements.
Right, and along those lines, with the like I mentioned earlier, the NGOs that support this stuff, and we're seeing all this rampant fraud up in Minneapolis right now.
It's very interesting that you bring that up, Larry, because it's going to be interesting to see if we got any of that going on in Tennessee.
Well, I think the school vouchers will play a large part in that.
Absolutely. Of course, they didn't, the quote unquote was, we don't want to tell private schools what to do. But when you're taking the taxpayers' money of this great state, there needs to be some checks and balances to see if they're really teaching our school and teaching our kids in those schools and what they're teaching. That concerns me a lot. And that's the reason I think we're better off coming up with a different way. I had an idea, or I asked a few people about it, and that I would have I think I could have supported, instead of handing those schools or writing those schools a check, Larry, for $7,500 or whatever we give them. I think it's somewhere around $7,500 a student. Why didn't Governor Lee, or why didn't they give this some thought and say, hey, if you send your child to a public school, Larry, we're not gonna write the school a check. We're gonna give you a debit card, a sales tax debit card. And you take that card, Larry, and you go to the grocery store. You go, you buy a new car to get your child to school. You buy that child a computer, and you take that sales $7,500 worth of sales tax, and you use it how you see fit instead of just writing a check to some school that we don't know that's been vetted, or we know what's really going on in that school or what they're teaching our children.
Right.
I think, maybe it's people say, well, that's really the same thing, but to me, it's a little different. It's kind of like President Trump. We don't have an income tax here in the state, and I think this year, President Trump, there's something in the tax code or whatnot that if you make a donation to a private school up to $1,700, you get to write that off your federal income tax, dollar for dollar. Mm-hmm. I've made that donation to a local school to take that deduction. But we don't have an income tax here in Tennessee, which I'm very proud of. But I thought the sales tax idea was a great idea.
Yeah, that's actually what I think the President Trump's position on school choices is: just give the people back their money.
Yeah, don't hand it to these, and we've already seen it. I've seen a few emails that parents that I know receive vouchers have sent me some emails where some of these schools, what they do, and one argument us conservatives made is that tuition price at those private schools this year, they've already seen an increase. They know mom and daddy's got more money, and it's coming from the government.
I mean, we've seen that in higher education all across the country. Once the government subsidizes the loans, the cost of tuition goes up.
Absolutely.
Because the school's going to get their money no matter what, so they don't care.
They don't care. No,
this ain't about education freedom, because like you said, every parent already has a choice. They have the choice right now.
Right. And another point to make on this, and I don't want to stay on this topic too long. If you want to move on, you tell me. Mm-hmm. But 68% statistics show somewhere, and I've asked for these statistics, and of course they won't give them. 68% of the students that receive voucher money, Larry, were already going to private schools.
Yeah, it sounds like
how many families do we really help?
Right, definitely. And then the income limits for the low income, it's almost six figures. Yeah, so everybody qualifies.
174,000.
Yeah, I don't make that
for a family of four. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So regarding taxes, tax reforms, are you backing the proposed amendment to prohibit state taxation of property?
I think our great friend Representative Monty Fritz has one coming, some kind of property tax bill. I'm going to introduce a bill that's going to freeze property tax on seniors and disabled veterans in this state. Mm-hmm. So, like Metro Nashville Davidson County did here a year or so or two ago, they raised property tax 34%. On their citizens in Metro Davidson County, and these elderly folks on fixed income, Social Security, they can't withstand that, and they shouldn't, shouldn't. And so I think there should be a cap. I think property tax is probably one of the most unfair taxes it is. I like Governor, and I hadn't dug into it real deep, but Governor DeSantis, he's pushing the idea around how to get away from property tax. It'll be interesting to see what Florida does on that.
Right, because it's very interesting. I mean, not a lot of people understand this, that with property tax, and it's everywhere in the United States, you never truly own your home.
Absolutely. No, you don't.
You're renting it. If you paid it off, you're still renting it from the government.
And then you have these zoning and planning laws, and then they try to tell you what you can do with your property.
Right. Yeah. And then I'm following a interesting case here in Sevier County down in Pigeon Forge, where the city used eminent domain to take this family's investment income home. They were going to rent it out, and they were using it also. And they used eminent domain to actually keep a road going through a relative of the mayor's property. And they took her property.
That's very interesting. Yeah.
that's here. But let's get into some social issues. and how they're
Okay.
dominating discussions today. What's your stance on updating Tennessee's abortion laws to make them even stronger in the defense of life?
Well, believe it or not, Larry, I think statistics show right now, we had a trigger law that went into effect that was passed before I got down to the General Assembly. But once Roe versus Wade was overturned, it went into effect. But I think statistics are showing right now more abortions are being performed in Tennessee than before, and it's due to the abortion pill that's being mailed in here from other states. And I know there's been a little bit of legislation. Representative Bolso has, I think, led the charge in some of that, and I'm sure there's some more stuff coming.
Mhm.
At the end of last session, we passed a bill. It was so-called and I won't get the language exactly right, but Iris Rudder carried the bill to protect birth control and such not. Well, we've never tried to prohibit birth control, but the bill was really a spin, the caption and what the bill actually was doing. And there was a lot of us conservatives that pushed back against that bill because Planned Parenthood endorsed that bill and put their support behind it. When that happens, it's a bad bill.
It's just plain evil. They want to murder babies.
Yeah, exactly. And when you got to have the Democrats to help you get it passed, it's a terrible bill. Terrible.
Absolutely.
Bill. But I think you'll see some stuff that'll try to crack down on that and try to get that stuff stopped.
Right, the abortion trafficking that's going on with
yes, they're carrying them out of state and stuff.
That crazy candidate Afton Bain.
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys work closely with the crazies.
Yeah, there's a few of them down there.
Yeah, do you got to go home and shower vigorously every day?
Yeah, there's some of them. Definitely a few down there.
And with that, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll come right back on the other side with Representative Todd Warner, ladies and gentlemen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back with Representative Todd Warner, one of the grassroots conservative stalwarts in our General Assembly here in Tennessee. And we're just asking him a few questions this week in the season premiere. And so, Representative Warner, how will you address parental rights in education during the session, particularly in combating the DEI and CRT stuff that's still in our public schools? I mean, it's even here in deep red Sevier County.
Right. And of course, we've passed, bills trying to deal with this in our, higher education and all too, but we just got to keep cracking down. There's always going to be bad actors. Even in my district here, the teacher just had a pride flag, flying in the classroom. That stuff needs to be left out. It needs to be taken somewhere else. It needs to be out of our schools. And I'll support any legislation that comes across to try to strengthen those laws to prohibit that kind of stuff from going on. I think parents at the end of the day have the ultimate, right to say what they want for their children. And I'm going to tell you, Larry, I've been a strong supporter of President Trump, was wanting to do away with the election. I mean, not election. We may have to start. I drew a blank. Doing federal Trump. President Trump wanted to do away with the education. Federal education. Department of Education. Okay. I'm here in the state. I am for doing away with the State Department of Education. I don't know exactly how many they got in Nashville running that department, but I'm for maybe 1 or 2, 3, 4 overseeing those funds. And let's send more of those funds back to the locals and let them, run their own education. I think the locals know best, Of course, you got places.
Once our education system became a top-down instead of a bottom-up led one, that's when you've seen the decline. Ever since the 1979 institution of the Federal Department of Education, test scores in every other metric in our country have declined because education is supposed to be like our country was founded. Most of our founding fathers were homeschooled before they went on to higher education. That just proves education, a classical education at its root, is the better type.
I agree 100%. And the more we can get the government out of education, the better off we are.
Right. And I saw this interesting graph the other day that everything that the government has subsidized since the 16th Amendment was passed has increased in cost, and everything that the government doesn't subsidize has decreased in cost because there's no need for government television. So look at the cost of televisions. You can get a flat screen TV, an 85-inch for $600 now. Now,
Right.
if government was selling it, how much would that be?
It'd probably be 8,000. You know. Yeah. Yeah.
So with public safety a key conservative value, what measures do you support to enhance law and order? You mentioned the bill you would propose for the illegal immigrants, but
Right.
what other
I think
tougher penalties?
Larry, it's something that digs me deep. And I was talking to a constituent about it. A former school teacher here in Marshall County last night on the telephone. It's time we hold these judges accountable. These judges that let these criminals out. I can't think of the young lady's name that was at Belmont that got shot by a stray bullet from a guy that had been let out of Metro Nashville Davidson County Jail because they said he wasn't quote unquote stable enough to go through a trial or whatnot, so they let him out. Well, those people that let that guy out should serve some time, should be charged with a penalty for letting that guy out. They've got to be held responsible. Until we start holding these liberal judges responsible, some of this stuff is not going to get fixed. But I would support, we have things in place for our doctors that commit malpractice. It's time we put things in place for our judges when they let one of these bad people out that shouldn't get out, one of these terrible criminals.
Yeah, so I'm not sure about this mechanism, but I know at the federal level, the House can impeach judges. Can we do that here in Tennessee?
Yes, we have. I think we actually have, or we were about to. Maybe our Senate does it. I'm not 100% sure, but I know there was a judge in Shelby County that the Senate was about to impeach here in Tennessee a couple of years ago, and I can't remember the judge's name, but that judge ended up stepping down before they done it. But the votes were there to do it because they were doing just what I was talking about. They were letting these terrible criminals out, the gang members. And we've got to stop that,
Absolutely.
But I'll support any strengthening any laws that for these serious offenders to strengthen their penalties where they stay in jail. I think Governor Lee got a little bit relaxed on some of that. Some of these, I know they wanted to cap at one time, maybe 10 years as long as they could stay or something. I can't even remember exactly what it was, but I know there was some talk. Some of these nonviolent, well, to me, if you're dealing drugs, selling drugs, and there might not have been a weapon, it might not be considered violence in some people's mind, but to me, if you're selling fentanyl, you might as well be selling. Weapon. Yeah, it's a deadly weapon. You might as well be selling underage kid guns, as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of that, on Second Amendment rights, are there any bills on the horizon to expand our gun freedoms, or is the General Assembly going to take any action on the?
Yeah, I think I heard Representative maybe Kip Capley's got a couple. Monty France has got one dealing with the Second Amendment that I've discussed with him, and I definitely will be co-sponsoring on that. But interesting you bring this up. We just won a case here, and don't I can't tell you exactly what court, but Governor Lee versus Hughes. Appealed this appellate court's decision where this court, and I think I'm getting this right, basically said, that the intent to go armed and the carrying in state parks, when we passed our so-called constitutional carry bill here in Tennessee, it had those languages in it. And that judge said, hey, those parts of this bill or the law are unconstitutional. It was a win for conservatives. It was a win for gun owners of Tennessee. And what did our governor do? And some of our leadership in the state legislature, General Assembly do? They appealed. They're in support of Governor Lee's appeal. We got to win for once. Let it go.
Right.
So we're spending the taxpayers' money again to infringe upon our rights. It's the rights that the Constitution, our founders, give us.
Right. The Second Amendment rights, not a lot of people realize this, is that it needs to go, the language and the discussions around Second Amendment rights has to be transmitted to the public that it is a civil right. Your right of self-defense is the ultimate civil right.
Absolutely.
And so if we start framing it like that, and so you get all these people that are the civil rights advocates that are out there that are only supporting lefty issues. But if you back them in the corner and say, hey, isn't the right of self-defense a civil right? It's the first law of nature and of nature's God, right? If we get paint them in the corner of that, they will have to just finally come out and admit, we just want your guns. So that argument needs to be reframed that way. Hey, these people want to deny everybody their civil right.
Yeah, you're exactly right, and it's something we need to stand strong. And disappointed in our governor and some of the members that called for the appeal. Very, very disturbing. When we get a win, we need to take it and go on.
Right. Because that's what the so-called conservatives have been saying in the General Assembly. Hey, we can't score a touchdown on the first day. We got to take this 5 yards at a time. Well, that was a 10-yard gain.
Well, when Governor Lee, when they originally posed the bill and Lamberth carried it, Leader Lamberth carried the bill, Bruce Griffey, the great Bruce Griffey, I love that, who's a judge now in West Tennessee. Don't make me tell you what district, but anyway, we tried to amend that bill on the House floor. The original bill came out. You had to be 21 years of age or older to be able to carry here in the state, And we tried to amend that to 18. Larry, it's common sense. If you can go die and fight for this country in our military, why in the world when we allow an 18-year-old here in Tennessee to protect his family at home?
Because it's all about the guns. It's control. Because if the government can sell you on the idea that they're there to protect you, you don't need to.
Right.
It's control.
But you know how it is. The government's never going to protect us, especially out here in rural Tennessee. If someone's breaking in my home out where I live, if I wait on the sheriff's department, they do a great job. Don't get me wrong. But by the time they get there,
you could already have the grave dug.
Exactly. You're exactly right.
Absolutely. Yeah, because I joined the Navy when I was 17.
Well, thank you, Larry. Thank you for your service.
Did 30 years in the greatest Navy in the world, and thank goodness I'm retired now.
Well, what an honor! What an honor!
It's a young man's game, let me tell you.
Yeah. Well, thank you again for your service.
Well, thank you for your support. Now, economic growth. Let's get into that. It's vital for rural districts like yours. So, what policies are you guys going to push to cut regulations on small businesses and job creation in this exploding economy now?
Right, we do have one, and I'm for any of that kind of stuff that cuts regulations. Here where I'm at, we're in an infrastructure crisis right now. I live in what we call, I don't know how familiar you are with this area, the Duck River Valley, and we're short on water, and I don't know how really short we are. TDEC, the state says we're short. The governor, if you're familiar, put $100 million in last year's budget to study, created this Duck River planning partnership. A lot of the leaders and people up and down the Duck River created a board to come up with a solution to try to help get more water in here. And they come up with the idea of maybe raising Normandy Dam, which is up above Shelbyville, Tennessee, 10 feet maybe, that it would help the flow for the folks on down the Duck River. Then they talked about spending $2 billion of our taxpayer money on a pipeline, either coming from the Cumberland River or coming from the Tennessee River down around Waverly. We have a lot of water in the Duck River, but there's some endangered species that these tree huggers want to protect. And I'm for protecting our river, but I don't think there's been, they don't want that river to drop below a certain flow. And I think there's more water there to get. But you probably don't remember this. But back in the late 70s and early 80s, we had another dam being built just below my district in Columbia, Tennessee. The TVA was 90-something% complete, and they ended up not completing it. All they really liked, they had the river diverted around the dam when they was building it. All they really liked was putting in the floodgates and putting the river back in the original channel. and the environmentalists got it held up, and eventually they tore it out. And we're in bad need of it here.
Right.
My district runs along the I-65 corridor, and Huntsville has become the fastest growing town in Alabama, and the largest city in Alabama now. And then you come on up, you've got Franklin, then Nashville, and we have a tremendous amount of growth and a great opportunity for economic growth. But some of our infrastructure is not in place, and our highway system, TDOT, we're $39.5 billion behind the eight ball. We don't want to borrow money here in the state to pay for our roads, and I'm not in favor of toll roads. The new plan that they come up with, they call them choice lanes.
Choice lanes.
In 2017, before I got to the General Assembly, my predecessor supported the gas tax. That we were told under the Haslam administration that was a 20-year fix. 20-year fix. We'll never have to do nothing. We'll get these road projects caught up, and we're behind.
It's not even 8 years.
Not even 8 years, and we're behind.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now we're going to pivot a little bit back to those vouchers, and in light of the lawsuits against them now, does the General Assembly, are there plans to introduce it to repeal or reform the education freedom scholarships?
I don't know if I haven't heard any talk about that. I don't know. There may be a Democrat or something that brings a bill like that. Could be a Republican. I don't know. I haven't heard of anything coming, but it'll be interesting to see what the courts say, and it'll be interesting to see how big of a push that Governor Lee and Speaker Sexton want to push this in an election year. Because I'm going to tell you, I promise you, some of those people that helped get that thing across the line last year in election year, I
think they're going to pay a price.
I think they're going to pay a price in rural Tennessee.
I don't think Americans for Prosperity and any of those other groups are going to have enough money to save them this time.
I don't either. And the thing about it, and they try, American for Prosperity, they'll always try to put some kind of spin on it. Like these attack, I wish I had one of them in here. These attack ads against me have been saying he voted against Trump. He voted against parents' choice. He voted against giving teacher raises, all that kind of stuff. And they just put a spin on it, And
voted against bribing teachers.
Exactly. That's what we done is we bribe teachers to stay home and not come to the Capitol and protest the voucher bill. Here's $2,000, which they didn't tell them they were taking taxes and insurance out of that and retirement. So they end up getting about $1,300. I had so many teachers call me and complain. And they said we were going to get $2,000. We didn't get but $1,327. They lied to you. They didn't tell you they were taking taxes and insurance and retirement out of it,
There's nothing so well designed to take away the citizens' money and freedom than the government they apathetically let get elected.
Exactly.
Now, speaking of that, are you running again?
Absolutely. I've got some unfinished business, and I'm definitely in for another 2 years, and we'll see what brings after that. But
and since this
it's going to be interesting.
Before the General Assembly convenes, you can campaign all you want on this program.
Exactly, we can. When we get in session, we, unlike Washington, the politicians in Washington, we cannot take any donations while we're in session, and so that has to be done before and after. So you mentioning that it makes me think that session will be short. I think we'll be out of there quick this time, which I'm one that believes we have enough laws on the book. We don't need to be down there passing. They'll be before this 114th General Assembly is over. I'd say there'll probably be 4,500 to 5,000 new bills filed. And we don't need that many new laws. We need to take some of this garbage off the books that we got, and let's crack down on crime. Let's promote public education. Let's fix it, and let's fix our infrastructure. To me, that those are the three things that we should be worried about.
Yeah, core functions of government only.
Exactly. Of course, with the idiot that they elected in New York, here comes more people. I mean, they're coming.
Yeah, they're coming.
It's no doubt.
And just realize that they're coming, and they voted for the moderate, which was who was the moderate in that election?
I forget the guy's name.
Cuomo.
Cuomo. Yeah,
they killed all of people's grandparents
right.
So if they're going to support a guy like Cuomo and they're going to come here, we have to be prepared for that.
We do. We need to educate them. We need somebody catching them at the state line, and
I think all the conservative refugees have pretty much left the other states. What we're getting now is definitely left of center, so they're going to come here and try to think they could do it right this time.
Right.
We don't need that.
Nah. We need to definitely keep an eye on that because I promise they're coming.
Yep. So where can people find out more information about you?
They can go to Todd4TN, Todd at Todd4TN.com and find out and get some contact information and read a little bit about me. Reach out. I'd love to hear. Please, you share any other contact information that you may have. And
I'll put links to your website and your social media.
Yeah, and if you can also do my state office in Nashville. Glad to do that. They can reach out to me on Facebook and find me there. But my thing is to represent the people, and I've kept my word, and I will not surrender to those folks in Nashville, to that garbage that goes on, the backroom deals, the lobbyists. I will not surrender to those folks. I will stand with the people of my district and this great state.
Yeah. And we need more like you in the General Assembly, and it's a shame that we don't get it. I think, and I've said this many times before on my program, that our primary system is broke, and I think it's designed to have not only crossover voting, but it's also designed to have less participation because the focus is always on the general. In Tennessee, the primary is the general in Tennessee.
Exactly. And you brought up something there, and it's been a supposed quote, red state. We can't close our primaries. We've got a bill down there. I think I don't know how far it got in the House, but I don't think it moved much in the Senate. Why in the world don't we have closed primaries in Tennessee? That would help some of this rhino problem we have.
Yeah. I think this Tennessee GOP SEC could do a lot to that. They can just say, you support closing this bills, or you cannot run as a Republican the next time you run. Oh, that's all they got to do is they just got to say that, and they'll fix that.
Why don't our leadership fix it?
Because they rely on those crossover votings.
Yeah, why don't our leadership fix it?
Because
maybe we get that done.
Because they're in a SUV going down the highway at 85 miles an hour and a 55.
Right. And don't get a speeding ticket, I wonder if I can get away with it.
It has been a sheer pleasure having you on the show. I hope once my health issues are resolved, we can get you on again.
Well, we're definitely praying for you, Larry, and wishing you the best, you and your family. And I'll be glad to come back on anytime. And if you're down in Nashville this session or something, get a chance to come down, please look me up. Would like to go to dinner or lunch or something other.
Absolutely, sir. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, Representative Todd Warner, one of the grassroots stalwarts in the Tennessee General Assembly. Thank you, sir, for joining us this week, and hope to hear good things from the General Assembly in this coming session.
Thank you. We're going to try.
All right, thank you. Well, folks, that wraps up our conversation with State Representative Todd Warner. Representative Warner, thank you again for taking the time to join us today, especially on the eve of the General Assembly session. Your insights into the challenges ahead, your unwavering commitment to conservative principles, and your willingness to stand against the establishment when it strays from those values, it's exactly the kind of leadership we need more of in Nashville. You've given our listeners a lot to think about, from protecting rural schools to safeguarding our liberties against big government overreach. God bless you and your work in the days ahead. As we close out this season 6 premiere of the podcast, I want to shift our focus to you, the audience. The grassroots conservatives were the real backbone of Tennessee. Tomorrow morning, January 13th, the 114th Tennessee General Assembly convenes in Nashville. This isn't just another session. It's a battleground where the future of our state will be decided. Will we hold the line on conservative values like lower taxes, strong Second Amendment rights, parental control in education, election integrity, and the protection of life? Or will the forces of creeping socialism Whether from the left or from within our own party, chip away at the freedoms that make Tennessee a beacon for the nation. The truth is, our representatives can't do it alone. They need us to be watching them, holding them accountable, and getting involved. Remember, liberty isn't preserved by passive observation. It's defended through active participation. Leadership emerges not just from the Capitol dome, but from everyday Tennesseans like you who refuse to let lies go unchallenged. So let's talk about how you can monitor this session closely and dive into the legislative process. I'm going to lay it out step by step because knowledge is power and action is the key to victory. First and foremost, start with the official Tennessee General Assembly website. It's capital with an O.tn.gov. This is your one-stop hub for everything happening in the legislature. Head over there and familiarize yourself with the layout. Under the Legislators tab, you can search for your state senator and state representative by entering your address or using the interactive maps. Once you find them, click on their profiles. You'll see their biographical info, committee assignments, which are crucial because that's where bills live or die, and a list of bills they've sponsored or co-sponsored. For each bill, there's a number, a summary, its current status, and the full details if you click through it. This is how you spot who's fighting for conservative causes and who's compromising. If you're interested in specific topics like education reform, tax cuts, immigration enforcement, or gun rights, go to the legislation tab. You can browse bills by subject or use the advanced search to plug in keywords. For example, search for vouchers or school choice to track any follow-up on that controversial program we discussed today. Or try election integrity to see bills on voter ID or audits. Don't just glance at it, dig into it. Read the bill text, the amendments, and fiscal notes to understand the real impact. Now, to make tracking easier, create a free account on the site's My Bills feature. It's simple. Sign up, select the bills you care about, and you'll get updates on their progress, when they're scheduled for committee, when they hit the floor, and any changes. This tool turns you from a spectator into an informed watchdog. Set aside time each week to check in. Maybe make it a family activity or discuss it at your local conservative group meeting. Monitoring isn't just about reading, it's about watching in real time. The General Assembly streams most of its proceedings live. On the website, look for the video or live stream sections. Committee hearings, floor debates, they're often broadcast right there. For the House side, there's even a dashboard app you can access through the website, which gives you full view of calendars, legislation, amendments, and videos. Click the camera icon next to a committee agenda and you're in. These streams are gold for seeing how your representatives argue, vote, and interact. There, you'll catch the lies in action. Maybe a so-called conservative caving to special interests, or witness true leadership shining through. The weekly schedule is posted on the site too, usually by Friday for the following week. Check it to know what's coming up. If a bill on, say, protecting parental rights from DEI indoctrination is on the Education Committee agenda, tune in. And don't stop at watching, take notes. Share what you see on social media, in your community, or with your church group. Expose the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's how we build momentum. But monitoring is only half the battle. To truly influence outcomes, you need to get involved. Start with contacting your legislators. It's easier than you think and more powerful than you realize. Go back to those profiles on the capital.tn.gov. Each of them has phone numbers, email address, and office locations. When you reach out, be personal and be very specific. Don't send a form letter. Write or call with your own words. Give your name, your address to prove you're a constituent, the bill number, and not just the topic, and clearly state if you support or oppose it and why. For example, state in this email, I'm a resident of District 92 and I oppose House Bill 1234 because it undermines rural schools and funnels money to out-of-state interests. Keep it concise. One issue per call or email. And the timing matters. Contact them before a key vote, like in a committee or on the floor. If you're calling, ask to speak to the legislator or their aide. Be polite but firm. Remember, they are public servants accountable to you. And don't just reach out to those who agree with you. Lobby the waverers or even opponents. You might sway a vote. Follow up, too. Thank them if they vote right. Express disappointment if they don't. This builds relationships and shows you're paying attention. Take it a step further. Attend in person. The Capitol is open to the public, and committee meetings often allow for public comment, especially during hearings. Check the schedule, plan your visit, and sign up to speak if possible. Dress professionally, prepare a short statement, usually 2 or 3 minutes, and focus on facts and personal impact. For instance, if you're a parent, share how a bill affects your child's education. Even if you don't speak, your presence matters. It shows numbers and it shows passion. Bring friends or fellow conservatives, a group from your county where you can make waves. If travel to Nashville isn't feasible, join or form local watchdog groups. Organizations like Tennessee Firearms Association for Second Amendment issues, or grassroots conservative networks through the Republican Party in your county, except, of course, my local Sevier County GOP, who are blindly following the lead of its corrupt chairman. But sometimes these county GOP groups often track legislation and organize advocacy. Now look into the ACLUTN's lobbying tips. Even if you disagree with them on issues, their basics on communication are solid. Or check resources from the Tennessee Nonprofit Network for more in the process. And don't forget social media. Follow legislators on X, formerly Twitter, Facebook, or their official pages, unless you're blocked by your representative, like Fred Ashley has blocked me. More on that in a minute, though. Engage respectfully, share updates, and amplify conservative voices. For broader involvement, consider testifying via video if offered, or even run for local office someday. But start small, educate your neighbors, host a watch party for a big floor debate, write letters to the editor in your local paper calling out lies in the proposed legislation, volunteer for campaigns of true conservatives like Representative Warner and Monty Fritz. Remember, the establishment thrives on apathy. We win through engagement. Ladies and gentlemen, this session could define Tennessee for years. With issues like voucher reforms, tax amendments, abortion protections, and more on the horizon, your voice is needed now more than ever. Don't let the oligarchs, the special interests, or the trans publicans dictate our future. Stand for liberty, demand real leadership, and expose the lies. As Ronald Reagan once said famously, freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. Let's make sure our generation passes it on stronger. Before I sign off, a quick reminder, as I mentioned earlier, I'll be taking a few weeks off after this episode to focus on my health. Pray for me, and I'll be praying for you. In the meantime, revisit some of our past episodes on government overreach or conservative heroes. They're timeless. And stay tuned. Season 6 has more in store when I return. Before I conclude with some wisdom from God's Word, let's address something that's come to light. Even though my state representative, Fred Ashley, has blocked me on social media, his wife, Angela, who works for Sevier County, has taken to viewing my TikTok page repeatedly. Here are the receipts and some of those screenshots. What's good for the goose isn't good for the gander, it seems. I'm always open to a direct conversation with Fred. He has my email and my cell number from my multiple outreach attempts. No need to send his wife to monitor me online. This just reinforces that he's a coward and a hypocrite of the first degree, hiding behind the skirts of the good old boy network here in Sevier County and now even hiding behind his own wife's skirt. Rest assured, folks, despite my ongoing battle with this very serious medical condition, I'm not stepping out of the fight to protect our liberties and calling out the deceptions of failed leaders at the state and national levels. I'll keep standing up for all of us because my oath to the Constitution never expires. Now, before I sign off, as is our tradition here on the podcast, let's draw some wisdom from God's word to carry us through the week. This week's verse comes to us from Jeremiah 17, verse 14. Heal me, Lord, and I will be healed. Save me, and I will be saved, for you are the one I praise. These words resonate deeply with me right now as I face my health challenge and prepare to step away for a few weeks to focus on treatment and recovery. I cannot express enough gratitude for all the people who have either lifted me up in prayer since the news came to light of the battle I am in, to the many people who have prayed with me, from the associate pastors of my church to even the lead pastor of a church I do not attend who came by my house and visited with my bride and I. In fact, Pastor Chris Kendall of Oak City Baptist Church, along with my neighbors Terry and Cheryl, they deserve a heartfelt special shout out on this program. Folks, one day I will recount the many moves of God my wife and I have been witness to in this season of my life to the audience. Rest assured, it has served to not only strengthen my faith, but is teaching me to more fully rest in and trust in my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. In a world full of uncertainties, where lies from the enemy and earthly trials can weigh us down, this prayer reminds us that true healing and salvation come only from the Lord, not from doctors alone or our own strength. It's a call to praise Him in the midst of the storm, trusting that He is faithful to restore us physically, spiritually, and even in our fight for liberty. If you're dealing with your own battles, whether health, family, or standing against tyranny, turn to Him in praise and watch His power at work. As always, thank you for leaning in today. God bless you, God bless Tennessee, and God bless these United States of America. Reveille, it's time to wake up.